Hello and welcome. So you've got yourself a Gibson or an Epiphone or some sort of guitar with a Tune-o-matic style bridge and you need to restring it. Well, let's look at how we do it. So first things first, let's have a look at what we need. So you have a guitar obviously. By the way, these magazines are stacked up on top of each other just to give you a bit of elevation on the guitar. You need a new set of strings. You need some sort of wire cutters. You want something to tune your guitar with. And something a lot of people say, but you might want to have is stuff to clean your instrument with. So first things first, what you want to do is get the old strings off. Now, what I wouldn't recommend is going in gung-ho with the wire cutters and just snip them all off. What I'd recommend instead is to actually detune all the strings normally. Now, you can use a string winder, but I always forget to use mine. Again, to be nice and loosey-goosey, don't worry, we are going to be using those wire cutters in a minute. There we go, and now they're reasonably loose. Now we can cut them, because otherwise it's going to come flying off, hit you in the face, and no one wants that, do they? So it's just grabbing a bunch, get them all cut. Right, now I need to get rid of them. So let's go over to the headstock first. So as you can see, they've all got a bit wibbly wobbly, but if I grab the E string here, I'm simply going to unwrap it the way it came out, and boom, there you go, out it comes, nice and easy. So if we just do the same for the rest of our strings. Now what you do want to do is, once you get all these off, is keep them to the side, so you can wrap them up to throw them away later. And just so you know, in a lot of countries, I know we do it in Britain, you should be able to recycle these strings, seeing as they are metal. Now that side's off, let's go down to the tailpiece. Okay, and this side's nice and easy. Now that you've cut it off, you just grab the string and push it through. And you'll notice that your tailpiece here will actually just completely come off. Unless you're using, I believe some Epiphones have a version of this that's just bolted on. In that case, what you want to do is, if I just imagine this is still on here, you'll just hold it in place and push and get out from there. Now you will notice that this part does come off, the tailpiece, and so does the bridge itself. There we go, don't worry about that. If it comes off, just stick it back in and it'll be good to go. Let's get our new strings out, shall we? But before we do that, there's one more thing you want to do for your guitar. Give it a clean. Give the guitar a clean, and give the neck of the fretboard a clean. For this, I shall be using, for the fretboard, not for the body, I shall be using some lemon oil. So give it a good wipe down and a clean. There we are, all nice and clean now. If you're interested, I did a video on cleaning a rosewood fretboard with lemon oil, which is up here. Let's get ourselves restringing. So, let's fit that back in place, and we're going to go first for our low E string. Now here is the standard way of doing this. So for most of the time, you'd put it through, and you'd come over like this. Sometimes instead, you'd see people who pull the string through like this and wrap it over the top like this. Now this is to give you a different level of tension. For the most part, I wouldn't normally bother doing it. We're going to do it the normal way, the way it was you probably found it strung on your guitar. So as I was saying, first things first, we're going to put it through the tailpiece like that, and we're just going to wrap it through. And as we restring it, we're going to make sure it goes just over the bridge saddle like that. So let's meet you on the other side, over near the headstock. So now I've got it through the tailpiece and the hole, let's get the string to its perfect length. A good old trick I've been shown is this trick. So, string over like that, and of this shape on our finger. So what I'm going to do, I put my little finger in that shape over the 12th fret, I'm going to lift up with my finger there, and hold the other piece of string here. That is about as much string as we want. So let's go over to the headstock. So with my bit of string still in hand here, I'm going to first fish it through the hole, up to that point where I'm going to bend the string around like this. There we go. So now I have a nice kink in the string, and then I'm going to hold it in place here. Make sure I'm pushing the string down, because this will make sure that everything's wrapped in a nice neat style, and I'm going to start winding. Now if you have an actual string winder, this can be done a lot more easily. You'll feel it tugging, so what you want to do is with this finger here, I'm pulling against it and making sure it wraps around quite nicely. The first string, this should be done quite quickly. With the others, it takes a little bit more time. You might feel it pulling and tugging a bit. Just make sure that everything goes over and under, over and under. I'm making sure it's slotting nicely into the nut slot, whether that's mostly important towards the end. And once you start feeling it tense up, you can start doing it by hand, and that's where our tuner is going to come in handy. So we want to get this string in tune. You can see it there. on a D. I'm going to get it up to an E. There we are. Let's repeat the same for the next couple of strings. So I've just fished it through the tailpiece and the bridge. I'm checking for the string length there. And now I'm going to measure it as such. So once again, pushing through the string hole up to that point. Give it a bend around. Now don't worry about cutting the string ends off yet. We're going to do that in a minute. Hold it here and we're going to turn. Now what I'm going to do here slightly differently is once I get this string in tune, I'm then going to go back and check my other one. Because new strings are always going to go slightly out of tune because they're being stretched and then they're relaxing and stretched and relaxing. We're going to look into how to actually fix that a bit more. So let's carry on through the rest of the strings. I'll see you on the other side. And so here we are with 5 out of 6 of them done. We just have the high E string left to go. Now make sure when you get to the other side of the guitar, obviously you're winding the other way around so that everything lines up like this. If you start winding the wrong way, it's not the end of the world, just flip it around and wind again. In between each string you're putting on, make sure you're retuning all the other ones. It will definitely help later. I'll explain why in just 1 second. The higher ones are a lot looser and a little bit fiddlier, but with a bit of patience and a bit of practice, you'll have it. So I've got mine held on there. Making sure that the bit that's poking out here is higher up than the other bit of string, and everything should all wrap up nicely. We want to make sure that every coil that happens, every new coil is underneath or lower than the previous coil. Now, even if things look a bit sort of crimped and a bit odd to begin with, like on the strings, like it doesn't look like it's lining up properly, don't worry, as it gets tightened up, it should all start to line up nicely. And once you start hearing a note coming through, that's your time to then tune it. Right, now I've got this one in tune, I'm quickly going to retune everything else one more time. Okay, let's have a look at stretching the strings right before we cut these bits off. So the last thing you want to do right before we cut the string ends off is we're going to stretch the strings. So like I said before, when we're putting the strings on, they haven't actually had a chance to be tightened out and loosened yet. So as you're tuning them, you're tightening the strings and they're just sort of burring out again. And you have to do this 2 or 3 times before they actually hold place. What you can do to help speed the process up is stretch the strings. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting my fingers underneath the strings and just stretching it along. Now you should only have to do this once. Just put the fingers under the strings and just pull it up lightly all the way there and back. Now this is going to knock your guitar right out of tune, but it should help your guitar to actually settle down and hold tune better a little bit more quickly. So I've done that, let's go back over the headstock and sort out those string ends. And then you just want to give it another good tuning. I've just tuned mine, so let's get the wire cutters back out and get these ends off. Now what we're going to do is simply grab the end, make sure, for the love of God, you're cutting this bit, not this bit, because otherwise your string's going to break right off. And we want to get it sort of kind of close to the tuning peg as we can, and just a good cut. Now be careful because these ends are going to be a little bit sharp, so you don't want to be picking around there, but we're just going to do this with the rest of them and tidy it up. So there we go, your Gibson Epiphone or just Tune-o-matic style guitar should be already in tune and ready to play. If you enjoyed this, please like, share and subscribe. And if you're interested in seeing a video about this guitar, I should have just released one on my channel recently. This is the thumbnail. Yeah, so if you enjoyed, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.